Hey y'all, I'm Allie. I know it's been forever, but welcome to Little Hill Craft Company. Let me finish my intro before I even just jump in. I know it's been a while. I keep saying to you guys, like, I promise to try to do 2 videos a week, but I have 2 channels. My other one was this close to 100,000 subscribers, and we were doing a big series, fresh milled flour. So I was putting a lot of my efforts into that, which meant this one took the back burner a little bit, and I apologize because I don't ever want you to feel like you're seconds. But we hit 100,000 subscribers. That one's called Little Hill Homestead instead of Craft Company like this one is. But anyways, it doesn't matter. The link for that one's always below. What are we going to be doing today? Okay, so I have craft shows starting. They're starting up in our area. I mean, spring is here. It's time to get your booth pulled together. Baby showers are happening. Weddings are happening. I mean, this could be great for any kind of event. I wanted this for our craft tent, but I also saw people selling these for a small fortune, and I thought, well, let me show you how to make your own. So what is this? These are the letter banners, you guys. They're quilted letters. I did our logo so I can hang it on, or not our logo, our name. So I can hang it on our craft booth when we start to do shows pretty soon. So think of this like over your canopy, like at the top of your canopy, and anybody walking by, this is the first thing they see and judge your booth off of, right? I did it in basic colors so it can hang in my craft room all the rest of the time. But this is what I'm gonna be showing you guys today. This is a very inexpensive project because it is what I call a scrap buster. These were scrap pieces of fabric that I had from other projects. Cotton is best for this one. I'm gonna go over materials. I'm gonna show you guys how to make it. This took me, with filming and talking you guys through under 1 hour to make this. And I'm also gonna give you pointers on how you could set up a custom table in your craft booth to let people make these in your booth and pay by the letter. All right, keep watching, you guys. I'm gonna show you guys how to make one. All right, the first thing I want to cover are the materials you're going to need for our banner. I have laid mine out. I am going to call this a scrap buster project because I'm going to use stuff out of my scrap bin. We do a ton of stuff around here and end up with random scraps. And so I'm going to use the faces are all going to be different scrap pieces. So this is a set that I kind of started and then decided what I didn't like about it, and then came up with today's pattern, but similar style, mostly because it matches the new craft room. So that is what I'm gonna be using for the faces. The backs, I wanted a different color for the back because I might actually cut that a little bit wider so you end up with an outline. I'm debating. So either way, I cut a bunch of, this is super muslin, so it's a little bit thicker because the scissors that I ended up buying, which I'm gonna show you in a second, I bought the cheapest ones I could on Amazon when they were like $6. They don't cut very well at all, but I wanted to get this video out. So I will be returning these because they suck. So I'm not going to put what brand I bought, but if you see these ones on Amazon with a little red on here, don't buy them. They don't cut the fabric, and I'll show you that in a minute. If you don't have scraps, Amazon also does have like packs where you can go get all kinds of different fabrics in one pack. They also have, I mean, like these kinds where it's already all the fabrics you could possibly need are put together, and they've already color coded it sort of for you so you know you'll end up with a cute set. Fat quarters would work for this as well, but I would stick with cotton if I were you, because cutting something like a polyester or polyester blend may shred, even with the scallops. If you don't have scallop scissors, you can use pinking shears. These are pinking scallops, but they're just a different shape because they're softer, they're cuter. Then I've also messed with batting, and here is what I discovered. You want to pre-iron all the fabric squares you're going to use. I didn't, and then tried to iron afterwards, and it melted my batting. So pre-cut all your squares. I did about a 6x-inch square for however many letters you need. A 6x6-inch square for our backs. I did a bunch of, I bought some, so with batting, somebody said, can you run through some batting information really quickly? And let me grab the one that I have in the trash can to show you. Well, it's not in there. Where did I end up putting it? I don't know. So there's different styles and different thicknesses of batting, and what they call it is lofting, I believe. They have, this is like a cotton. This is great for quilts and stuff like that. See how it's not very thick? But if you want something that's gonna look puffy and more like a pillow, then you want something a little bit loftier, which means you're gonna probably move to a polyester, which is what like this kind of stuff is. It usually comes in a bag or a bolt, a roll. Oh, come on. So I love this one. I use it a lot in my quilted bags and zipper pouches and stuff. It's the Mountain Mist Ultra Fine, which means it's a little bit not as puffy, but it'll work for this too. And then of course you can see we buy our cotton by the bolt, if you can see it here in the corner. So that's my little, this is how we buy our cotton. We buy it in big, heavy, I think it's 40 yards at a time, because we use a lot of it because we own a sewing shop. So for batting, pick your battle. If you don't want batting because you feel like it's too puffy, you can do a fusible interfacing, which basically this you cut out. It has glue on the back of it, and you can glue it to your fabric with the iron. So you run an iron over it and it sticks to your fabric like that. If you don't want to do batting, you can totally do that. You can add it also to help your pinking shears cut a little bit better if you're having an issue with it. Then we're gonna need, so I'm staging this as we go, some tabs to hang these. You can use elastic, you could use a piece of ribbon, you can use whatever you want. I use this because it's what I have. It's called twill tape. I get it on Amazon. It's what I use for my labels. I have a natural and I have it in white. It's not very expensive for a big roll, and I use it for a lot of projects. And you need a 3-inch piece for each letter. But if your letter, say, is like an H, where would you hook it, right? So you want one for each side of your H. Any letter that, I think these ones are all gonna be fine. Yeah, these are all gonna be fine. But if you have something like a W, an M, something that's got 2 spots where it's gonna hit the rope, cut 2 for it. So I did 3-inch strips because I found that to be the easiest to fit our ribbon through. You can use ribbon. I am using macrame cord. You can buy this at Michael's, you can buy it online, you can buy it at Hobby Lobby, you can buy it all kinds of places. It's basically like a off-white rope, and that's what I'm gonna be using to hang mine on because I have it. All right, so let's talk fonts. So with these quilted letters, you want a puffier type font. So I went with this one. Sorry, I'm in a sewing room, and often I need to wipe it down because there's fibers in the air. But I wanted something puffy because if you just did a straight line font, you wouldn't have a lot to cut out. So when I went looking for fonts, I looked up coloring book fonts. And a lot of them are so that you can color in the middle. Well, once I did that, I figured out, okay, I don't want to do mine in Word. Canva has better fonts, and it's a little easier for me to maneuver, sort of. Canva can also be a pain in the rear, but it's a free program, so that it is what it is. I used Canva, and I created what they call a custom size. So when you sign up, it's free. I don't even think they email me very often. I've done the upgraded pay for one. They give you a 30-day free trial, and you get a lot of cool stuff, but you don't need it for this one. So on the side, you're gonna do custom size or custom project, and you are gonna pick inches first, and then you're gonna backtrack and pick how big you want it to print. So in this case, I did 8.5 by 11 or 11 by 8.5 because I wanted it to print on a standard sheet of paper. From there, you're gonna add a text box. And then on your project, it will add a text box. Well, you're gonna have to do 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 letters at a time because we want them so big. So I did a few and then would download it and then change it and go back. So you had to do it in multiple steps, but it was the easiest for me because I just was. But the font size that I used was a 500 to get a big enough letter for this banner to kind of feel substantial. I used the style name, or the font name is Waffle, like waffles, breakfast waffles, soft. And when you change your font to that, it's gonna be a solid black letter. Which, if you wanna waste ink, you go for it and do that. I didn't want to. So at the top, on the text bar, you can choose effects, E-F-F-E-C-T-S, effects. Not FX, I know it sounds. You can change it to hollow, which means it now is gonna be hollow in the center, and then it has an edge. Well, the edge was really thick, so I took it to a size 20, which dropped it down to about what you see here. And then I just went and I took whatever letters I had and I cut them out so that I'm ready to trace. I got lucky because I'm doing the words little and hill. I have a lot of repeat letters. If you don't, just keep printing. I've seen a lot of people, and this is why I thought this could be a fun project. This is really on trend right now. These letters are hugely popular right now. And I've seen people doing them at craft shows with bins. So they'll have a bunch of different patterns of A, a bunch of different patterns of B, and people can walk up and pay like $5 a letter. And then they basically at the craft show will string it up on the cord and pack it up for you. So you can make it custom while you're in your craft booth. And I thought that's a cool idea to kind of draw people in, which is why I'm doing this video. Anyways, that is how we got our font. Now, how are we going to transfer fonts onto fabric? All right, we got two options. You can do a water erasable pen. So what this is, it's a pen from Amazon. I think it's 5 for $4 or $3.99. As soon as water hits this, it's from the company Mr. Pen, by the way. As soon as water hits this, like a towel, it will erase, as long as it's not heat set. So when you're done sewing it, just hit it with a little bit of water and it dissipates. If you don't want to do that, you could do some Crayola chalk, or washable markers will also work. Just Crayola washable markers. They have pencils that write on fabric, that, you know what I mean? Just pick something that can write on a fabric and then disappear. How are we going to do this project? So like I said, I wanted my backer a different fabric than my front because these pinking shears stink that badly. So I picked a thicker muslin for my back. Then we need a piece of our batting. I pre-cut all these to about a 6x6 or a 5.5 inch square, so they should line up close enough. All right. Now you want your front facing fabric, which for me, I laid all mine out. I'm doing tans, greens, chickens, kind of the vibe of my new office. I'm gonna lay that on top. So I have all 3 of my layers ready to go. I'm gonna take my first letter, which is gonna be an L. So I have 2 ideas on this. You can trace it on the front, and then hit it with some water. Or you can turn it around and trace it on the back so that when you hang it up, it doesn't matter and you won't see it. This is totally up to you. I am going to flip it over and trace it backwards just to make more sense for myself. So our letter, the black outline, you want facing down so that when you sew this and turn it around, you're good to go. So it's facing down. I'm going to take my pen. I'm going to trace around. I picked a font that had a rounded edge, and it was, when I tried to sew it, I tried to round the edges. Do sharp corners. It's much easier to pivot and keep going than it is to try to move around those, and then you can round them with your pinking shears. So on this, even though it's got rounded corners, I'm going to do squares. So I'm just going to trace it. Of course, I picked something really easy that doesn't have like a middle, like a capital A or a B. Those would be a little more difficult, but I will try to remember to show you how to cut in the middle of those, or explain it at least since I don't have one. All right. And like I said, if you iron polyester battering, it's going to sink down, and so you'll lose the loftiness that we've got going. That's why I decided not to do that. All right. So I have my L traced out now. See, it's backwards, right? Well, it's technically, yeah, it's backwards. So I have my 3 layers, right? How are we going to hang this bad boy? So you need to figure out how to put your tabs in. Let me grab my pins, and I'm going to flip it back over. So what I want to do is fold this little ribbon in half. And these, if you want to hit with an iron to keep it flat, you totally can. All I'm going to do is insert this so that it sits right below the blue line and in about the center of my letter. And then I'm going to pin it in place so that when we sew over that blue line, our ribbon is going to be sewn into that spot. So you'll see it peeking out a little bit, and that's totally fine. If you want to measure it perfectly on every single one, it's probably advisable. And you don't want it sticking up so far that you have this long loop. So I looked at that and I feel like that's a little long to me, so I am going to pull it down. All I got to do is leave enough that I can fit my cord through it, and I feel like I'm good. You can eyeball it or measure it. I'm going to eyeball it. You could go with a little bit shorter cord loop, but I wanted it to be long enough to, 1, sew over, and 2, be able to fit that cord through, because this cord can shred pretty easily, and I didn't want it to be such a pain to do. I'll show you that in a second. So, okay, now I'm going to pin that, and I feel like that's a little bit better. So it's barely peeking out. So I'm going to take this letter over to my sewing machine, and we're going to sew basically over the marker that you just did. We're going to do that with every single one of the letters for whatever name you're doing. So like my next one, I'll do one more for you. So that's my L for little. I'm going to do an I for little. So I have my backer piece going down. I have my piece of batting Going down, again, pick whatever batting you want, whatever. I have my piece of fabric. And this one was a little bit of a weird piece because I didn't have the width that I was looking for, so that's why all the eyes are gonna be this cute brown stripe. All right, flip it over. This one has a pattern, so you kind of want to make sure that your eye lines up correctly, which is a good thing that sticks out, but I'll be able to see it. Again, I'm going to take my letter. It doesn't necessarily matter on eyes because there's just a line. What is happening? Put it face down and trace it. I didn't bring water in here either. Just remember, we don't want to do the rounded edges because it was a pain to sew. So I'm just doing straight lines. And again, we're just going to rough this one because it doesn't have to be perfect. I missed part of it. That's okay. It's a straight line. I don't know where I'm going. All right. So my eye is on there. Ready to go. I'm going to take my little loop again, fold it in half. So you have your two pieces down here and you have a loop like that. And then take that, put it, I'm doing it between my muslin and my batting fabric. You could do it towards the front if you prefer. I like this because I can pin it and see it a little bit better to make sure I'm lining it up with the center of my letter and getting it tall, long enough to stick out the top and all that stuff. So I'm doing it between my back and my batting. Again, where's my pin cushion? Oh, my Lord. It's right there, lady. Pin cushion it. Or pin it, not pin cushion it. Like that. So we have our back, our loop, and our face. So I'm going to take these two. Let's go sew just these two really quickly so that I can show you kind of how we do this. You don't need a walking foot for this one. You should be able to sew through it with just any foot because your batting is hidden. It might slip just a little bit without a walking foot, but we're going to be okay. Let's go to the sewing machine. I did want to show you, by the way, those are all my fabrics I pre-cut and laid out so that I knew what patterns I wanted where. So it's ready to go piece by piece. I felt like that was a little bit easier than just grabbing and trying to figure it out as I went. So it took me a second just to make sure it's pretty, but that's simple. So again, I'm sewing on the back side, not the face of these, because that's where my lines are. All I'm going to do is pick what corner I want to drop it on and drop it. Hold on, my foot pedal's too far back. I'm going to back stitch to start and then just follow the blue line or whatever color line you drew for your letter. Straighter is better, obviously. You want to keep it, don't go so fast that you run it off the road. Now, when I got to the corner, all I did was leave my needle. You can't even see my hand is there. I left my needle down and I pick my foot up and then I turn my fabric so that when I drop my foot back down, I can keep going straight. Boom, like that. Follow it along. When you get to the next corner, I can go one more. Boop. My needle's down, I turn it, and then I go again. Same thing, lift it, turn it, go. Some letters like an S might be a little bit harder because you kind of have to curve it. Just go really slow and don't pull it because that can risk breaking your needle, but just go slow. Again, we're almost there, you guys. When you get to the top, pivot. Okay, you can sew over needles or pins if you want, if you're not comfortable with it or have a machine that cannot handle it. And I'm not calling out brand names, but if you have a $100 machine from Michael's that starts with an S or a B, like your sibling or someone who does musical notes out of their mouth, you know what I mean. They usually, some of the lower dollar ones can't handle going over a pin and it will break your needle. We have a semi-industrial Juki. It can handle that. It desperately needs to be cleaned, but it can handle that. So I don't mind going over it. Otherwise, pull your pin out and just finish your line. When you get to the end where you started, I got one more, back stitch, which just means go backwards a couple stitches and then forward one, cut your thread. Whoop, it did not cut. There we go. So our letter is now quilted and you can see it from the front. I'm going to do one more for you guys. Our little I. Same thing, pick a point that you feel comfortable starting at, do one little back stitch, and follow your line all the way down. Pivot and go. Pivot and go. Pivot and go. Pins out, go. Back stitch at the end, cut your thread. We're done with two now. So there's our I. So I have 2 of my letters ready to go. I'm going to take you over. I'm going to go actually sew all my letters really quick off camera, and then I'm going to show you how we cut these and string them on our banner to make our final product. I'm telling you, there's a little bit of prep work to get it all staged, but then once you sit down, man, you're just going to jam through these suckers. Cutting is going to be the hardest part, and I'll show you that in just a second. All right, I have all my letters done. You can see them in order. I started cutting a few, and I'm going to tell you about what I'm doing. But I'm going to zoom you in now, and I want to show you 2 options here. So I have 2 pairs of scissors. These are standard pinking shears. These are the scalloped ones I bought. I bought the same brand because I've never had an issue with these. These are terrible on the scallop depending on the fabric you're using. I wanted to show you the difference in what they look like for your final edge, though. So this is a standard pinking shear. It's like little V's. This is the scallop. It's much prettier and daintier. But this scallop has a very hard time on certain fabrics. So I have what I call this thin denim that I use often. And as you can see, when I try to do like this type of fabric, it literally just shreds it. See it? So you have to be careful with what fabrics you pick. Cotton and muslins, and it did great, but not so much on thinner stuff like this. But let me show you how you cut these. So the reason I picked this muslin for the backer is because it does do a little bit better with those scalloped scissors. So I'm going to move those so I don't actually accidentally do this. When I trim them, I'm not going to trim my top yet because that is there's a different way to do it. But I want to show you how I trim around the rest of it. So for me, I picked letters. I didn't pick letters. It just happens to be the letters I did that are a little easier because there's a lot of straight lines. B's and S's and things like that you're going to have a little bit harder time with. But you're going to line up close to the edge and trim. Then when you turn it, you can either start fresh, or if you find the spot that naturally makes sense to kind of make another circle, that's your best option. Then when you get close to your corner, it's easiest if you use the tip of your scissors the closer you get to corner so you don't accidentally cut into it. I'm going to turn this, make sure all my fabric is lined up, and go. Again, kind of line it up so that it makes a nice corner, and go. So I'm going to do, on the top here though, we have that tab, right? So I want to do the front fabrics separate from the back fabric so we don't cut that tab. So I'm going to grab the tab and the front fabrics and pull them forward like this so I can cut this back only. Let me get this out of the way. Hold on, I got some attached fabric that's going to cause me some issues. Okay, get that out of the way. So we've got this. I'm going to do my back piece first. Lining up as I go with where you stop. You want to line it up to make your circle complete when you keep going. Then I'm going to flip it over. And now I need to cut this, but my back is already cut. So I'm going to hold the loop and your muslin, or whatever your backer fabric is, out of the way and cut this way. So see this fabric, because it's kind of thinner, these scissors just don't cut it. So splurge a little bit and get at least a $10 pair. Maybe we'll actually cut the fabric. But then our tab will flip right back up and we're good. I'm going to keep going all the way around these letters. And you kind of just pick where you think it looks cute. Remember, be careful as you get close to that edge. I find it better to back up and use the tip to trim it. And then continuing on. Okay, so there it is from the front. I mean back. There it is from the front. So there's our little chicken tea. But the scallops look darling on it. And then you just take a little bit of water and hit this blue and it will come off. In my case, it's going to face the wall, so I don't really care. All right, they're all cut out. That did take me the longest of all of it, I swear. Those snippers are just, I don't want to say god-awful, but they're god-awful. They caused me to have a lot of not even edges, where if I did pinking shears, I would have been fine. So, like I said, those will be going back. I'm not going to put a brand name below, but if you look up scalloped, what are those called? I'll put something below, a better brand that I know of, because I have some other scissors that this other company makes that are better, that I'll put below. So anyways, that's what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna turn you around so I can show you how we're gonna string this together. Sorry, they're pinking shears, but they're called scallop. edge. So scallop shears, I think is what I actually looked up. Anyways, it's time to string this up. Let me go grab some tape. I forgot, because the edge of this frays really badly. If you have a ribbon that's not gonna fray really badly, you don't have to worry about it. I'm gonna grab a piece of tape to hook on the end and wrap around it so that we don't have that issue. I'm actually gonna grab two, because I think I'm gonna do mine two-tiered instead of just one long one, because we're actually making this for our craft booth for when our show season starts back up. I didn't have one last year. I just had some like tassels hung and like fabric ribbon stuff that we just tied, and I thought this would be a cute addition to it. So that's why I'm doing it like two-tiered. I feel like it's gonna be better than one really long banner. Let me go grab the tape. All I'm gonna do here is cut my end so I have a nice end to work with. And I'm gonna wrap that tape around that end so that it won't fray while we push it through each of those. Alrighty. Like that. I'm gonna cut that edge off just because it got a little funky, but it's enough to keep it from fraying. We are gonna use something called a bodkin. It looks like tweezers, but you hook it on the end of this, pinch it, and then there's a little like circle metal that you slide up so you can use it to thread through kind of like you would a needle. What you need to decide is how long you want your ribbon part to be. So for me, I kind of laid my letters out like I showed you guys, and I'm gonna kind of just say like, I don't know, probably about 40 inches is what I'm gonna do for my top one. And then once I get that one, I'd rather have it too long than too short overall. And then I'll do my second one a little bit longer so it sways below it, is what I'm thinking. So let me push the bodkin through the loops that we sewed in. Oops, that's the wrong letter. What am I doing? We need this one on the other end. Hello, alphabetical order. Well, not alphabetical order, the way you read. First letter, slide it all the way down your rope. So it'll basically hang on your rope once you get it all done. Don't go off the edge, obviously. So I'm gonna take my second one, same thing until you have them all on there. And then we're gonna kind of slightly adjust them once they're on the rope. Now why I wanted to leave a big enough loop at the top is so the bodkin fits through here a little easily, more easily, easier. The sad part is when I went to school, I took English honors. That's just sad. That's the school system for you. Just kidding. Oh man. All right. Continue sliding this down. There we go. And we'll fine tune it once we get them all on there and in its place. What I like is you can move them around. So if you feel like it's off, you just slide them a little bit. Okay. My L and my E. So in total, this took me less than an hour to do from start to finish, which isn't bad. But so like I'm saying, you'll be able to fine tune it, but that's kind of what we're gonna look for. I'm gonna tier my second one so that it hangs below that. So I'm gonna lay this out. I'm gonna take my bodkin off and figure out my second one. And I kind of want to leave about the same amount of rope on each side before my first letter in this. Boop. Just because it'll make my life easier. Slightly adjust them so they're kind of where you think they're going to be-ish. And I'm going to pull these other letters out. So that when you hang this, it's going to kind of naturally do like an arch, right? So I'm going to take this other one and I'm going to line it up with my ribbon on this side. And I'm going to sway it down lower so that it'll hang, this is my hope, below the other one kind of naturally versus one long one. We'll see if this works. So I'm going to cut a little extra just so I have wiggle room on this one. Again, I have my piece of tape on this guy. I'm going to tape the end just so we don't get it all frayed and funky. Take your bodkin, put your bodkin on there. And I did see like some people put beads on the end of these. There could be hearts, you could do stars, all kinds of, you know, cute stuff. I'm going kind of basic for this because like I said, this is going to be for my craft booth and I already have some like Oh gosh, it's packed away in a box because we haven't done a show yet this year, but I did a bunch of scrap fabric and I tied it in knots on a long ribbon. And we just hang that, and then this will sit below that. So it'll give me a little wiggle room here. But I don't want extra on it. All right, my H. Slide it pretty far down, and then we'll fine tune them. I just thought, I start looking at banners, right? And one, I don't want just a generic banner. Our whole vibe when we do our craft shows is kind of a, well, Homestead feel, because that's our other channel. But I like to make it more friendly and inviting versus like professional and like a vinyl banner. That's not our vibe that we have. Think general store, old school. That's what we tend to kind of have a vibe for. So to me, having a banner like this is a little bit more the vibe of our stuff. Plus, the vinyl banners can be expensive. And if you guys have scrap fabrics, this is an easy one to do. Plus, it's cute. It kind of gives the person walking by like, oh, what do they have in there? This is different than, you know, like littlehillcraftco big black and white banner. All right, my bodkin is off. And I am going to now tie the ends of my ribbon on one side. Just do a little quick knot. I'm going to slide it down a little bit. And then I'm going to make a second knot on here. So it gives me a place to kind of hook through this. We use little anchor hook things. They're like an S hook that hooks onto our tent. And they hook through little loops. So I've created a little loop on one end. Now my hope is that I can get little to stay up and hill to drop down. I know you guys are backwards from me, but... So it sits below it at the show. Like, see how it's hanging lower? I'm going to bring it back up just a tiny bit. And like I said, I'll fine tune the letters once I get it at the height I want it to be at. I don't want any of our letters to cut each other off. So I'm going to come down a tiny bit more so it hangs below my original letters. Like that. And then I'm going to tie a knot at this other end. Same way I did the first one. 2 knots to make a loop for when I hang it up on my booth. Okay. You know she's thinking when she's got her tongue out. Okay. Yeah, we've tried different stuff in our craft booth with wind, oh my word. The last show we did was so windy, everything just kept flying all over the place. So we found these like S-hook anchors that hook to the tent, and it really helped with things like banners, and we hang our jewelry display from it. We hang some of our different stuff from them, but I still got to figure out signs for the tables because the last show we did, they flew all over the dang place. We had little chalkboards, and that didn't work. We did a show before that, and we did just 2x4s that we painted, and we wrote on with chalk, and that was actually better. All right, I have my 2 knots on that end and my 2 knots on this end. So it looks like this, right? Is that not turning out cute so far? All right, I'm going to stage out my letters a little bit here so that they are slid around and evenly spaced. I'm going to slide my hill down a little bit so that it doesn't hit the other letters, but I want to evenly space enough between the letters that when I hold it up, it doesn't like have giant spaces here and really small ones here. But I think we're good. Okay, so this is what it will look like when it hangs on my banner. I mean, on my tent. What do you think, you guys? Is that cute? I could probably pull this one up just a touch more, but I'll fine tune it when I get it in my booth. And then if I lower it down, it'll actually look kind of like that. It's cute, right? Think of all the colors you could do. The thing that I see most people do are nurseries. So think of like, I'm going to baby shower and I don't have a ton of money, or I want something cute and custom that I can make for somebody. Think of the name. So do a cute little thing that says like Tanner, Sarah, I don't know, whatever your name is that you want, and match it to their nursery. So if they have like a theme with, maybe don't do theme, like if they're construction workers, like theme, like little dump trucks and stuff, maybe don't do that, but pick colors from their nursery that would complement it, and then they can hang this on the wall. I'm just saying, I think it is so cute. It was very inexpensive and it didn't take a ton of time. But like I was saying, I've seen people do these at craft shows, and they have clear tubs lined up. Is there 26 letters in the alphabet? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And they're all the same font. They're all cut the same way, but they have different color options in each bin. They have them set up, and then they leave enough room on the table in front of them that if somebody walks up and wants to make a custom banner, you help them stage the letters. Then you grab the letters that they pick, you take it behind, have some kind of table set up behind, you put it on the cording for them, and then they pay per letter. So the longer the name, the more money you make. Maybe they'll put initials even, do like a monogram type thing. But it can get very expensive. I mean, think $7 to $8 a letter. To me, that's a high price. But I would do, like if I was going to do these at a craft show, I'd probably do them $5 each because, again, they're scrap for the most part. And what you do, like if you were to sit down and just jam through a bunch of these, you could probably do 100 letters in an hour. The hardest part is cutting them. But get some good shears and you're fine. Anyways, that was our project today. If you guys have any questions on the materials we use, I will try to remember to link everything below. But I think this is just going to look so cute. Even catching in the wind at the craft show, whoop, I might put some weights in it or something to keep those front, the L and the E, where they're supposed to go. But think of that at a craft show. Is that not like so like inviting to my booth? Like, what does she have in there? I gotta go check this out because if her banner's that cute, she's probably got some cute stuff in there. Just saying. And it's chickens. So there's that. Anyways, I will have links below to everything. If you have any questions, you just let me know. I'm always here for you and I always answer. I don't answer, Sean answers. That's my husband. And there you go. Oh, and you can make it any size you want too, by the way. Thanks, guys.